Okay, so the format is that basically we'll have 3 presentations before the break and then 3 after the break. And I want to introduce a few people to you. So firstly, Luis Patron. Now, Luis is actually, I had scheduled that Luis would give you a talk, but because we have 6 groups and it's going to take quite a long time to go over all the presentations, he's not going to give a lecture, which is a real shame because his lectures are fantastic, but he's here to give you some feedback. And Luis and I go back a long way. We were both at the UNU together. And if anything, Luis was the one who introduced us to the idea that the UN and UNU should produce video documentaries. He produced the first one and he got the ball rolling, and he inspired me to hire more people to work on this. And then when he left the UNU, he went freelance, and he's been working freelance by himself for, I don't know, Luis, how many years have you been freelancing?
Hello guys, good afternoon. It's great to be here, and I'm really looking forward to hear your presentations. Thanks, Brendan, for the introduction. Yeah, I've been running my TV and video production company for 7 years now, and I do mostly documentaries and news for TV and various online outlets too, like CNN Digital, Discovery Channel, NHK, and others. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing about your presentations.
So Luis and I teach a course in the fall, which is on documentary production. I'm going to share the PDF on that with you. And it actually dovetails quite nicely with this course. So in this course, you develop the communication strategy. And in the creative media course, you actually have to go and make a documentary or short film about that, or about a communication strategy. So there's a very good linkage here. But the beauty of having Luis here is that he's someone who has to make pictures all the time to various clients. And I mean, really serious clients like Al Jazeera. Have you done something for CNN?
For CNN Digital, yeah, it's on online short documentaries. But yeah, so with I mean, I do kind of this kind of thing too, pitching like campaigns at the end of the day. So yeah, I have to do a lot of this for different types of clients. Like now, I just finished a series I did for the Olympic Channel. So that also required a pitch, proposing ideas. And this is mostly about TV and video, but yeah, also related to communication for think tanks, like some think tanks of the Tokyo University or the UN University, or IGES. What is IGES stands for, Brendan?
Institute for Global Environmental Strategies.
Yes, so that's also, yeah, so all this topic of sustainable development goals and all that I am quite familiar with that. In a big part, thanks to Brendan, actually, because of all the work we did was mostly environmental related. So yeah, I am really looking forward to hear your ideas and pitches.
Great, and then the other person who will be giving feedback today is Mitsuru. Mitsuru, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Mitsuru's been here throughout the entire course, and so he's been watching your progress, and today he will be giving a little bit of feedback on each one of the presentations together with Luis and myself. And looking forward to hear what you have to say, Mitsuru. Do you have any comments on the way the course has gone so far this year? It's been a bit different, hasn't it, to the other years?
Well, yeah, I can maybe, save it for later.
Okay. Sounds good. I wonder, is there any of the faculty here from, oh, here's Fumiko Noguchi, from UNU-IAS. I invited UNU-IAS faculty to join us today. Fumiko, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Yes, I am here.
Do you want to put your camera on, or are you in the office?
Yeah, I'm not in office, so
Okay.
yeah, this house is messy. I might put the camera on. I just organize my virtual background later.
Okay. Do you know all the students from UNU IAS?
I can see some of the students has, yeah, I think so.
Okay, so you're also most welcome to give some feedback on the presentations today.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Is there anyone else from UNU joining? No? Okay, great. So I have the order here in that you're going to be giving the presentations. So for the first three, we want to begin with new narratives, followed by big ideas, and then simply stories. Are you okay with that?
Okay. Yes, we're fine.
You're like, oh no, can we go last? But I actually think it's probably good to get it out of the way as quickly as possible, because then you can enjoy watching the others present. So I would like now to invite new narratives to get ready. And remember, it's a 15 minutes maximum. So I'm actually timing this as well, just to make sure that you stick to 15 minutes. Have you by any chance rehearsed this? Who's in the new narratives team, by the way?
Me, Kamadine, Kongsoon, and Aki and Ozin are in new narratives, but I'm not sure that everyone is here now.
Oh, I can. All right. So.
Yeah, I am here.
Good. Well, are you ready? Is a new.
I think we're missing one member.
Who's
I
that?
think we're missing Kongsoon, but we can still go without her. Hopefully.
Okay. I did see her at the beginning, but she seems to sometimes lose her connectivity. I know she says, "I'm here" in the chat. She's here. Okay, so as soon as you're ready, do you have some slides to share with us?
Yes, we do.
Would you like to launch your slides?
So I hope everyone can see our screen right now.
I'm going to do the speaker and presenter view there. We can see both you and the slides fine. So whenever you're ready, please begin.
Okay, so I think we're ready. Is everyone ready?
Yeah,
Ready?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm ready. Good.
So let's begin. Okay, so hello everyone, it's New Narratives and may we have your attention please, because today we would like you to meet a friend. So this is Tanaka-san, a salaryman living in Saitama, but working in Tokyo. And he is also an environment lover. So last year, he gave up his car and decided to spend 2 hours on a public train instead, because he believed this is the only sustainable way to commute. So every morning, he crams himself into overcrowded trains, fighting for a space to breathe, squeezing his hands to his sides until his body becomes paralyzed. And not only Tanaka-san. Train congestion in Tokyo is a daily nightmare for millions of commuters every day during the rush hour. And in Japanese, we have a term for this, tsukin jigoku, which literally means commuter hell. But we know that sustainability should not be a living hell. It should be something comfortable and also convenient. So today we want to promote a car service that is not only urban friendly, but also very, very exciting.
Let's focus on problem statement. Do you know that 40% of Tokyo's workers are not living in Tokyo, but commuting from other cities? That's about 2.5 million people flocking into Tokyo every day. So when we think about Tokyo transportation, we must consider Tokyo and its surrounding cities, which includes Kanagawa, Saitama, Yokohama, Kawasaki, and Chiba. Together, these cities form a single large area called the Tokyo Metropolitan Area, TMA. TMA, with the population of 38 million people, in the largest urban agglomeration in human history. Even though the use of automobiles is low among commuters, more than half of the traffic in the 10-kilometer area of central Tokyo use taxis. The longer the distance traveled from central Tokyo, the greater the number of private cars and freight cars, and at the same time, the higher the utilization rate is expressways.
According to the statistic of Automobile Inspection Registration Information Association, in the whole Greater Tokyo area, as of the end of February this year, a total of 23 million vehicles has been registered. The Greater Tokyo area is still the area with the most vehicles in Japan, accounting for 28%. About the type of the vehicles, to reduce air pollution, people living in Japan also use electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, and hybrid electric vehicles. According to the Next Generation Vehicle Promotion Center in 2019, although the number of hybrid cars is growing tendency, it still takes us a small percentage of all car types. All over Japan, there are only about 236,000 electric cars.
Okay. Now on our solution, we want to promote Uber times Tesla services. These services will provide a ride sharing service with 100% electric car. This way, we reduce the number of the quantum of carbon emission. As you know, Uber is a one-click car services. That's all you need is to get the app, and then you are connected to a driver that picks you up on demand. But with car sharing services, we add an extra feature, and this feature connects you with other riders who are heading the same direction as you do. So Uber finds the best route to pick all of you and then send you up. So this way, the driver may stop off a number of times, but he sends you to your destination on time. So typically you get a trip shared, spend some more times and connect with people, but all the same get your service delivered to you. By doing this, we envisage two main directions of benefit. One, to the human being, we see that you will get affordable services, you will get safe services, less stress, and make friends. We have considered Uber a public transport service, and similar to taxis, they are more flexible than our train services, like she described in the first introductory section. So for people who take public services to work and back home, their destination is usually unchanged. But if they can afford a car, but sometimes it's not stable, so Uber will offer a monthly membership with lower cost to help you commute as a group. Meanwhile, customers can build a different relationship because they share the car with somebody every day, and then they are able to communicate day in and day out. thereby building new relationships. We also see that Uber as a method will help you to meet many different friends, because you are not taking the car with the same person every day. You get to meet people who are commuting your path on a daily basis. So you get connected at no cost to you. Also, with safe driving cars, you get a better safety measure from transport services than traditional taxi or Uber services. Now to the environment, taking a ride on Uber makes people like fewer people. There will be fewer cars on the road, but besides that, you are finding that there are fewer needs for parking space. So we are able to get more space to build a recreational area where we go connect and enjoy life. So when cars are also filled with two or more people, carbon emission is reduced per capita. Relative to what the statistics we got on in 2018, there was an average of 124 grams emitted per person. Now with UberX, we will reduce this number so much to the extent that we almost zero emission per capita. Now, compared to private cars and taxis, UberX in connection with Tesla will also help reduce global emission if this is subscribed across the world. And then the utilization of this will also help the environment in a way that less cars are produced and fewer post-use environmental impact will be felt. And finally, there will be fewer traffic jams on the road. Thank you.
Next, we're going to present to you our media strategy. First, Uber delivery service. According to NHK, the number of parcel delivery service handled in 2020 reached over 2,096,000,000, a record high. Due to COVID-19, online shopping has become mainstream, and there is concern that the utilization rate of freight vehicles will increase in the future. So we want to incorporate delivery service into Uber. Uber doesn't just carry people, it's also carry the luggage you want to deliver to a specific location. For example, assume that someone wants to go to the station or deliver their luggage to the station. Uber will carry people and the luggage to the station at their request. In addition, Uber can add new people and luggage on the way to the station.
Next, Uber with the Eye. The first idea we produced is Waku Waku Ride loyalty program. We will sign up customers to ride with famous celebrities such as Sato Takeru-san, Ishihara Satomi-san, Nato. A celebrity will be the customer on the random Uber ride without any warning. Customers earn points every time they use this environmentally friendly and sustainable system. When they reach 100 points, customers' dream might come true. These exciting surprise and delight tactics aim to please loyal customer, generate positive buzz, and give Uber a more fun and friendly image. Our first idea is Uber the Eye TV series campaign to tell human story. How ride-sharing connect people and make commuting and traveling more comfortable, fun, and memorable. From Uber advertisement, we want to show that Uber is just a ride-hailing app. It contains more meanings. It can connect people in different ways. It can be people going to the same event, parties, same companies, and same schools. The most impressive advertisement is when the grandson hailed a car that seemed to be grandfather's first car. A shocked and moved expression on the grandfather's face. I thought, that heartwarming moment they will never forget. Uber doesn't only connect passengers with drivers, it is excitement in an unexpected encounter. It's to be able to share the joy when you share the ride.
And last but not least is the very special feature in our media campaign, which is Uber X Demon Slayer. So we all know that last year, Kimetsu no Yaiba, aka Demon Slayer, has taken Japanese movie industry by storm. And it has a huge fan base in Japan. So what we're gonna do is to create a promotion campaign for Uber using characters from Demon Slayer, but of course with a little twist. So we actually played with the words to come up with our tagline, which is Ometsu no Uber, which means Uber Pollution Slayer. So basically with every shared ride, customers can gain points as a pollution slayer since they are actually doing good for the environment and reducing carbon footprint when they are using our service. And also our idea is all about having a fun journey with people. So we have prepared everything customer needs for a carpool karaoke. And more importantly, this karaoke service is 100% free. So to help you visualize our plan, we have made a very cute animated video for you. So are you ready for it? Here we go. So that's our promotion video, and hopefully by deploying all these media campaigns, we hope that someday in Japan, Uber X Tesla is gonna be the new bike. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. That was really fun. I enjoyed it immensely. I think there was a little audio problem there with the video, but we got the point. And yeah, I can see everybody's giving you a virtual round of applause. So thank you. We should do that. Thanks so much. Well done. It's not easy to make a presentation over Zoom, but you did a great job. So perhaps, Luis, if you want to chip in and give your thoughts on what we just looked at.
I was thinking you would go first, then I get the idea of the extent and all that.
Okay. Well, so my impression was that, so firstly, thank you for keeping exactly to time, less than 15 minutes. That's very important. I thought you did a good job. It's, as I said, it's quite difficult to present over Zoom and to make sure that everybody's audio is working fine and that everybody has a contribution to make. The idea is quite intriguing. it's this notion that somehow, is it the idea that Tesla and Uber would join forces and that they would together put this idea, proposal out there? Or is it Uber doing the work and Tesla just providing the car? That wasn't really clear to me. So maybe if you could just explain that point.
Yeah, so our customer is mainly Uber, and then, but of course, Uber can be any car that you own, but it's not going to do any good for the environment. So what we want to do is make Tesla the provider for the car.
Okay, and that's because you want to emphasize the fact that it's an electric car.
Yeah.
And therefore not polluting. Okay, that's an interesting idea of trying to connect those two pretty influential companies. And so you had quite a few different elements to your strategy. So there was this, the fact that it's a Uber service, but it also has a delivery service in it, and it has this Demon Slayer overall branding campaign. Although that could change, I guess, over time. It wouldn't be there for the entire period of this collaboration. But the idea was you were selecting Demon Slayer to target a particular audience. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we want to target young people who are university students and young people in their maybe 30s who are maybe potential fan of this Demon Slayer series.
Okay, I have to admit I haven't seen the Demon Slayer series, so I might not be. I'm not your target, obviously not your target audience. But okay, I think that's really clear that you've got both a clear client in your head and a clear target audience there. So you responded to the brief that we gave you, which I think is really good. Luis, would you like to give some reflections on the presentation?
Sure. Yes, thanks for the presentation. Very interesting. So, okay, I'll just go ahead and say my thoughts, kind of unfiltered. So initially, I think Train-san did really good job at hooking the audience, because you told a little story that I could relate to of this hell commuting. So I thought that was very good. And I think you actually, Train-san, you did also, your other contributions were really good, well presented, and you connected really well with the audience. After that, I must say I got kind of lost. And maybe an advice also, it's a bit tricky actually to present over Zoom. It's tricky to even present in person, to pitch these things. In Zoom, then it becomes even more complicated. I think you have to make a bigger effort, not just you, I think everybody, we have to make a bigger effort than when you are face-to-face, to connect with the audience, to make a really conscious effort to do that. You have to remember that you are not just presenting, you are talking to somebody, right? You are trying to convince somebody of something. You are not just there and saying things. So you have to keep this in mind. Some of the other members, it felt a bit like you were reading, maybe you were actually. So I know English is not your first language, so I know there's a challenge there. So it's understandable, but you really have to go away from reading. You have to really talk as if like a person, right? You have to connect and communicate as a person with the people you are talking to, because if not, you are not going to sell your idea, right? It's going to fall flat. And I think at some of the parts of the presentation was a little bit it's too flat, and then you lose the audience, right? We're just like hearing this drone, it's like it's too flat, you know, something like this, right? So you really have to make a conscious effort to to switch it to talk faster or louder, slower. You have to connect with the audience, right? You cannot be just speaking in the same tone all the time and then say many complicated numbers, because then you lose the audience. So just, you have to be careful with this and try to look at the camera as much as possible. I'm not doing it all the time, but you should try to look at the camera like this, and then you will connect more to the audience. Now, if you're looking like this, it looks like I am not paying attention to you, right? And then you lose the audience again. So this is not just for you guys, it's for everybody actually. So sorry you guys went first and then you got this advice, and now the others, maybe you can try to do that. I think you had many interesting elements, but I thought you could have connected them a bit better when you were jumping from one to the other, because you are relying too much on us to make these connections. You have to, maybe your message should be a little bit more simple maybe, and make it and connect how is what I said. Now the next one is gonna say this, and it makes sense because I just said this, and now he's gonna talk about this. For example, Yusuf, you talked about the solution initially, right? So it should be like a moment of excitement, right? It's like, we have this hell commuting, and this is our solution, and it's amazing. And you have to sell us the point, right? Because you were bringing the solution. And I think it came across a little bit not so clear what was the solution. And yes, so I think you had good ideas, but it was not so easy to follow the connection, right? And also Huang-san part has really many complicated figures, and also they went a little bit over my head, although I was trying to put lots of attention. So in a pitch, maybe the person you are talking to, it will put less attention than me. And so you have to grab them really, and talking about figures is a bit tricky because you can lose them quickly, so you have to be careful with that. I thought your ideas were quite cool, actually. When you got to your creative ideas of the media strategy, I thought they were kind of cool, and caught my attention again. But like, oh, we're gonna have these celebrities, like, oh, these guys are gonna have some celebrities. That's interesting. So I paid attention. When we do TV, people say like, if your audience is going back, it's like you are losing them. If they're like, oh, what are they saying, and they come back to you, like, this is interesting, right? So that got me back into the presentation. I don't know if they are so practical actually, but they were definitely interesting and definitely attention grabbing. So if your point, I don't know how much it will be like an incentive for people to take these rides, but it will definitely generate buzz, and that will in turn maybe generate rights for this idea, right? Yeah, so the ride with celebrities, the human stories, Kimetsu no Yaiba, I thought they were very creative and attractive ideas. Yeah, so those were my thoughts mainly.
Thanks, Luis. That's fantastic, and gives students a lot to think about. Mitsuru, do you have some feedback?
Yeah, so I probably would like to make my comment as short as possible. Firstly, yeah, thank you very much for that very creative and innovative presentation. And I thoroughly enjoyed watching that through. And I think in terms of the choice of the issue to present or focus on in your presentation, as well as the way you connect that into a sort of the story, which can be attractive to many younger audiences, I think that was quite successful. But one of the things I think you could have thought a bit more, or could be more carefully, would be that probably overlapping with what Luis has just commented on, the audience and its relevance to that issue. And that, commuter hell, of course, and that's a big issue, particularly for the audience in the metropolitan region. But for those who are not, who are outside that metropolitan region, or who are not suffering from that, the commuter hell, I don't know how appealing that your choice of the issue, to focus on your presentation can be to the audience. And also the solution you presented in your talk. And you probably could have show the other potential options and make some sort of a comparison how your solution can be better than other potential solutions, as well as attractive to wider audiences than other possible solutions. So probably that linkage between the issue and the audience could have been a bit clearer. That I think is the thing you could have done better. But again, I enjoyed watching that, so thank you.
Thanks, Mitsuru. That's great. Fumiko, do you want to make a comment on each individual presentation, or would you like to say?
I just will give you a set sort of a comments. Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. I really enjoyed watching through, and also very nice, interesting sort of a video you made. Demon Slayer, that's my favorite as well. Yeah, just one thing is perhaps if you do the more careful like a stakeholder analysis, that might expand your sort of idea that who should you need to communicate more effectively. So because the one point that I really concern is more like a road safety issues, because you're already aware that there is road safety issue, but it's what's really touched very lightly. But that's really quite significant part of this sort of using the Uber and also the car sort of transportation around the Tokyo metropolitan area. So perhaps if you do the like stakeholder analysis might sort of make your presentation much more better. It's already very good, but thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Fumiko. Like your background.
Yeah, I don't like it, but it's just I'm gonna move the house next week, so I can't show it to the public.
It's good, very institutional. Yeah. So I think overall our impression is very positive on your presentation. You did a great job. I also really like the fact that you spent the time to make an animation. I really commend you for that. That's a lot of work, and it was a really worthwhile that you did that. It had a big impact on me. So well done, New Narratives. Great start. Thank you. And now you can relax and enjoy the rest of the presentations. So next we have Big Ideas. Who's heading up the Big Ideas team?
All of us.
Okay, great. So would you like to get your slides ready? I'm going to go to speak of you as well. And
can you see it, sir?
Yes, but you're not in presentation mode. Okay, now you are. So as soon as you're ready, please begin.
Is everyone ready?
Okay, everyone? Okay.
We can't, Justin.
Okay.
Okay. I'm okay.
Hank is here?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Okay. Then I'll start. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to meet us from Kota Kita today to talk about something that is close to us, which is our city, Jakarta. Next. Jakarta is always bustling, and with 10 million people, it never sleeps and has everything we want and need. But in the near future, there is a good chance that Jakarta will not be able to do it all anymore. Why? Because it's sinking. Many have predicted that in 2050, Jakarta would be underwater. Next. Located on the shore, made the city prone to flood, and I can safely guess that anyone who has lived in Jakarta understands how bad it can be. But do you aware why the city floods so much, or that the problem could be traced to the Dutch colonialism era? Now, back in the 1600s, Dutch took over the city. They then made the city to look and feel as a Dutch city by building many canals and had narrow townhouses alongside it. While this plan was thought to serve as a defense and trade system, it also had another purpose. It was to segregate and divide the ethnic group who were living there because the Dutch were outnumbered. This segregation happened for a century until the canals began to deteriorate and the sediment from the earthquakes turned the water in the canal stagnant. This made the Dutch move to the south part of Jakarta, and in 1870s, they developed the first centralized water supply, which provided clean drinking water and indoor bathrooms. Next. Now, the segregation was about the access to clean water and sanitary. Native residents had to rely either on street vendors for water or forced to get their water from neglected canals. Next. After Indonesian independence, this problem still persists, and the people of Jakarta kept relying on groundwater as their main water resource, even until now. Pipe water only reached about 65% of the population.
Next. This reliance on groundwater is not a good thing. Groundwater acts as a support for the soil to maintain the height. The overuse of groundwater leads to land subsidence, like the one in Jakarta, has decreased the ground support. Next. The effect of land subsidence can be felt with the people already, especially in the ones lives in North Jakarta. This is a picture of an abandoned mosque because the land it stands on is already under the sea level. Next, please. This is a clip of interview.
Thank you for the video. So this is the scientific data supporting our claim. In 2050, Jakarta, about 95% of Jakarta will be underwater. However, we cannot dispute the plans of the government to save the city. So I'll share with you some two outstanding plans of the government to save Jakarta. Next. The first plan of the government is to build a wall similar to the Great Wall of Venice. So this will be like a seawall that will shield the northern part of the Jakarta from the devastating issue. However, next slide. However, this wall is estimated to cost about $37 billion US. And in the long run, it's not only just expensive, but it is also very unsustainable. Next slide. So this is the current situation of some of the walls that has been constructed so far. Not only has just 5% been constructed, but even with that 5%, the water still seeps through from the other side into the main city. Next. The second plan of the government is to move the entire city of Jakarta from its current location to a different island among one of the 1,700 islands in Indonesia. So that's the second plan of the government, is to relocate the whole city. Next slide. No, this also been estimated to cost about $45 billion US. This is very expensive and the government cannot afford it. And two, this plan will be very difficult to move the entire island because some people just do not want to move. And also in the long run, this plan is very unsustainable because the land will still continue to sink if something is not done about it. Therefore, what is the future of Jakarta now?
So if the current approach taken by the government is not working, then what sort of solution should be implemented? Well, this modern problem requires not just modern solutions, but also sustainable solutions. We need to think outside the box and come up with solutions that do not cost so much and that are also more durable than the current ones. We, as Kota Kita, an NGO from Indonesia, in collaboration with UN Environment Program and the UN Development Program, propose the following strategies to deal with the problem of sinking city of Jakarta. The first solution is redistribution of not the entire population, but a part of the population from northern Jakarta, which will give us some time for the mitigation strategies to work and be implemented. The first step in this strategy would be evacuation and redistribution of northern Jakarta inhabitants to one of the 1,000 islands. And I do not mean the salad dressing. The second part of this would be the incentives. As incentive for the movement of the northern Jakarta to one of the 1,000 islands, each family would receive about $10,000 US per family in order to help them in resettling to the new place.
Besides these measures, maybe we can learn from other countries. As we mentioned earlier, ground sinking is mainly due to over-extraction of groundwater. So here is a method that has been successfully implemented in Shanghai, China. It's the groundwater recharge well. We can dig a well. You can look at this picture, and we can dig a well and re-injection the rainwater or stream or some seawater and so on into the ground to recover the water pressure. Then the land will rise. Next. In order to reduce people's dependence on groundwater, we can build more pipes under the ground. So piped water can reach all areas together and have better maintenance of existing pipes. So it's safe for people to be consumed. Next. There are another strategy maybe we can use. The Tokyo have built a current to protect itself against water from the surrounding sea. This program can store the water when have the flood and release the water in the drought. And we can get more details from this video.
We have the water flowing into our facility about 7 times a year on average. Out of those 7 times, for about 60% of the time, the water flows into here and is forced out to the Edo River. For the remaining 40% of the time, we store the water here as it can hold up to 670,000 tons. And then the water gets returned to the river it came from.
The second mitigation plan is to implement nature-based solutions. For example, mangroves provide a natural protection against flooding, and using a mangrove forest to bind the soil in northern Jakarta can help alleviate this problem. If you look at this picture, using a mangrove forest as coastal protection can reduce the impact of water surging and floods, thus thereby reducing the damage caused by this flooding of seawater into people's houses and their livelihoods. So this is a sustainable and natural solution that can be used to protect not just people's houses, but their coastal livelihoods. Another medium-term solution would be to transport water to those islands where the resettled population of northern Jakarta would live. This water transportation could be done through any of the transportation mechanisms, whether boats, planes, tanks, etc.
In conclusion, the current seawall plan is not working to prevent Jakarta sinking. And moving the entire population of Jakarta is not sustainable. Thus, we propose more sustainable strategies to deal with the problem in medium and long term. First, we can evacuate people who lived in the north part of Jakarta and give $10,000 incentive for anyone willing to evacuate. And we can recharge the groundwater and build more water pipes and have better maintenance. Finally, it's available to use the mangrove forest to bind the soil and transporting water to the island.
That's all.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You kind of fizzled out at the end there. I was left feeling a little bit down there. Perhaps you should have maybe focused on really delivering a powerful message or a call to action, whereas presenting just a bullet points and then not necessarily hitting us with this message at the end made it, it was kind of a little bit of an anticlimax, unfortunately. But congratulations for having bigger ideas. One of the things I found slightly confusing was that you didn't really talk about who you were until like halfway through. And it was only when Shah came in that you said, "Oh, we're representing this Kota Kita NGO," and then there's somehow UNEP is there and another organization. And so there was like, oh, hang on a minute, what's this doing in the middle? So it was a very sort of unclear for a while who was speaking or whose voice we were listening to. So that, yeah.
Sorry, I think I mentioned it. I mentioned it in the first slide.
But I don't recall you saying we are representing Kula Kita, the NGO, etc. And anyway,
okay, yeah.
I missed it, perhaps, or it didn't come through really powerfully to me. Then the other feeling I sort of like visually, the presentation had so much going on that I didn't feel like it was like a very cohesively branded presentation, you know, compared to New Narrative, where it was one visual identity. They used a Prezi format, and then we could see the same consistent visual style, whereas I actually found like 4 or 5 different visual styles going on there, sometimes using cartoon, sometimes using you know, very serious photos or technical photos and so on. So visually it was a little bit confusing there. And also it wasn't clear to me who you were talking to. Yeah. So again, it didn't come over as like, this is a message from these parties to this audience. Therefore, it was very difficult for us as observers to assess how effectively you're communicating that message in order to get a desired result. So that's my impression based on the presentation. Maybe if Mitsuru wants to go next.
Yes. So firstly, again, thank you very much for the presentation. And yeah, I actually, concur with Brendan on many points he has just made in terms of the unclarity of who you are and who you are talking to. But you know, we all are basically based at universities, and we are quite good at listening to that sort of research-based fact-presenting presentation. So it was comfortable for me to focus on what you're talking about. But when it comes to presenting a wider audience, that could be a challenge. And so that's probably one of the things you could have done better. But in terms of the use of the visuals as well as compiling that into a story, I liked the way it was quite sort of, you know, giving us a kind of the pressure, you know, we have to do something, you know, we have to take on this really big challenge, what should we do? And you could have flavored your presentation possibly, you know, in a slightly more, I wouldn't say optimistic, but more constructive optimism type of mode, so that, you know, you can encourage the audience, let's think about this issue together. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you know, people have got different styles of presentation, and, you know, and every style of presentation can work in depending on who you are talking to, on what occasion you're presenting. So I think this presentation, I think, will work in a certain context, but could have done better in other contexts. But I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mitsuru. Luis, would you like to make some comments?
Of course, yes. So yeah, thanks for the presentation. I actually don't work shooting in Jakarta. It's a city and a country that I love, actually. I have shot these kind of scenes of flooding and water-related issues in Jakarta, actually, and all the trash that I hope, maybe not as much anymore, but maybe it's still the same. Lots of trash on the riverways or the canals. I was very shocked about that. So yeah, I am kind of familiar with this topic. I think in terms of the presentation, I think it starts with a good energy, showing these images of the problem that kind of grabbed my attention, because it was clearly an issue there that it's happening. So that kind of caught my attention. Then some technical issues that you guys have to be careful. I was really getting really into it. And then I think all of you guys had the mic on. And then there was some noise somewhere, and I kind of got lost on I couldn't pay attention on the history part, although I was very interested on it. like, oh, the Dutch, what the Dutch did. And I was, but who has the mic on? You know? And I got lost there. No? So please be careful with that. Again, it's like when you are presenting face-to-face, right? You have to pay attention to some technical issues, like is the projector working? Where are the guys gonna sit? And mics are working? All that, you have to do the same here, right? Because increasingly, this is how it's gonna work in the future too, right? If we continue with these pandemic situations too. So just be very careful about that. You guys showed some videos that was really good because you bring the people that is being affected by it. And if your audience is some sort of government agency or funder, this has always a lot of impact. And in my work, the work I did also for the UNU, this always had some impact. For example, I did lots of stories on Central Asia. And again, I did kind of human stories of the big environmental issues that were affecting the region, but I did the human stories about it. And I would show them, or the people I gave these videos show them in these big meetings. And all these people knew these issues existed for a long time and they've been talking about it. But it was finally when they saw how hard the life was being affected to these community people that then they actually went and did something about it, right? So this bringing in the perspective of the people that are being affected by these big problems is really good. Although I think I would have gone even more into that because they were just talking about, yeah, the water goes up to here and yeah, we sleep there. That's kind of bad, but actually there's a lot more that they are being affected, right? It's really life and death for some people. Some of these rivers, when, especially that kind of slum people living by the rivers, when the big storms come, it's like they get washed away, right? So it's a life and death situation, right? So the more you can make your problem big, of course, your solution looks more important, right? If your problem doesn't sound so big, it's like, okay, whatever, right? Let's not solve it. But if your problem is really big, then okay, let's pay attention to this because this is a huge problem we have to solve. And yeah, like what Brendan said, the style of the presentation was a bit all over the place. And where I really looked that it was really all over the place was when, what's his name? The comedian guy came up, David Chappelle. I was like, what is David Chappelle doing here? Yeah? I mean, you can use these kind of things to grab attention, but you have to be smart about it. Because if it's really not, I mean, that in that point, it really didn't make any sense because you didn't make, it was just his photo, right? It's like, what, why? Are they gonna say something funny now that is going, so it was a bit strange. Again, when Josephine again brought up the solutions that the government is planning with this really futuristic photo of the walls that they're planning, that also caught my attention because I thought, oh, wow, no, this is a really huge problem. And they are really thinking in these really huge solutions that look really futuristic and a bit crazy. So that was great. I would have gone even more into that, no? Into showing, because that really showed me that this problem is huge, right? If the Indonesian government is thinking of doing these huge things, oh, well, maybe what these guys are suggesting is not so expensive anymore, right? Maybe it sounds very cheap, even if you pitch something that is millions of dollars. I was, oh, it's so cheap compared to this wall, right? So I would have gone even more into that. Yeah, but I think maybe you needed to talk a little bit more clearly about what was the bad points of these initiatives. You did a little bit, but maybe you needed to be more clear about them, no? Because you are clearly showing some. It's good actually what you are doing. You're showing some idea and saying, no, this is not going to work. Our idea is going to be better. You know? So that's good actually, because you are shooting down objections already, right? From the people you are pitching to. So you are already shooting down those alternatives to your plan, right? I thought it was good that you showed your team and who you are working with. It made it a lot more credible. Like, oh, okay, these guys is an NGO and they are working with the UN. Okay, that sounds like a solid thing. Although, like what Brendan said, it maybe should have been said earlier. But it was good that you made it like this is like all these credible institutions working together, right? Then I felt like you kind of gave too many solutions, and I got kind of lost in between them. So it's like, yeah, okay, yes, of course, there's like so many solutions, right? So, but what are you guys going for, right? I don't know. I mean, you presented a menu of like 5, 6 options, and then there was like a second mitigation plan that, okay, so this is on top of the other 5 that they set already. And there you are taking, of course, you are taking ideas from Tokyo and Shanghai, but we can do that. But what is your proposal, right? What are you proposing? I think you have to really concentrate on 1 or 2 things, and that's your pitch, right? Maybe you can pick the 1 or 2 that are the top, and then you really go for them, right? Because now you just made a bullet point list of all the possibilities, so that's great, but which one are you gonna do, right? You cannot do all of them. So yeah, it was not clear what was the actual solution that you will go for. And then, I mean, I'm not totally sure what is this exercise, but I thought the idea was to have a media strategy attached to the solution, right? So I don't think there was a media strategy. There was some environmental solutions or policy solutions, but not media strategy attached to them. So I don't know if that's how that's work, because I am not totally sure of the assignment, but yeah, I was missing that. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. There's lots for the team to think about. Fumiko, do you have a quick comment?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the very timely and very good sort of emerging topics. That's sort of very important topics that you're working on. And I think there are 2 things that I would like to highlight. It's one thing, it's about the sort of educational approach. Maybe because I'm coming from the education for sustainable development background, but I think, yeah, as sort of previous commentators made a comment that sort of, yes, the idea is really wonderful, but it's very hard to get the consensus building process. So to make a more creative or participatory and inclusive consensus building, educational approach is really important. So that's one thing. And whatever you do, like including like a mitigation or technical solution or nature-based solution, whatever. And you also have to identify who's a stakeholder. So you really have to think about who you are addressing to these things. And also another thing is more about the little bit, you might need to be careful about the like a rights-based approach for the residents, because it's it's whatever any intervention like technical intervention or nature-based solution, you really have to consider those people who are living there, and even particularly for the displaced people who's going to be displaced because of this sort of issue. So they have their own rights to live there. So so that's sort of one thing you really have to think about in this strategy, I think. So that's sort of my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think you have to be commended for taking on a big challenge like this. That's a really, and also quite complex issue. But when you do that, you also raise other problems for yourself in terms of how do you effectively communicate that? Who do you try to reach? What's the outcome, and so on and so forth. So yeah, good job. I think we are, you did a good job, and I hope that the feedback is valuable for you as well. Great. Thank you to Big Ideas. And then we have one more presentation before the break. So Simply Stories. I can see Simply Stories is getting ready.
Is everyone ready?
Yes.
Just
Yes.
let's
go. Let's go.
Audio, when you're not talking, you want to be careful about muting your mic. Yep. Okay, but Ryota, if you're ready, we are ready.
Let's see. Okay, so let's get started. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen from Lima Tours.
Sorry, my PowerPoint is stuck. Can you restart my PowerPoint application? Sorry, I'm really sorry about that.
No problem.
Oh no, it got really stuck. I had it ready for so long. Sorry.
Okay, don't worry.
Now let me reshare it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen from Lima Tours. It is our great honor to be able to introduce our idea today to the most well-known and successful tourism company in Peru. As an NGO to promote nature conservation, we are very excited for this opportunity to present how we can work together to make our world more sustainable. First of all, let's see impressions on tourism in Peru by foreign tourists. An interview was done to the tourist who has joined one of the tours by Lima Tours.
Hello, this is Jorge. I'm in the Lima's International Airport. We are here to interview some tourists about their experiences here in Peru. Hello, sorry, do you have time for a short interview right now?
Oh, yes, of course, go ahead.
Where are you from?
I'm from China.
And how was your experience here in Peru?
Yeah, I enjoyed a lot and visited many places such as Machu Picchu and the Nazca lines. I really had a good time here, but I think there is a room for improvement of tourist experiences.
What are your suggestions?
Well, yeah, for example, I saw a lot of garbage and pollution in the natural areas, and I also feel pity that I didn't have much opportunities to interact with the people, the local people, and experience their culture. Actually, I was expecting an eco tour here, but I didn't find any.
Thank you very much. Have a nice flight. As you have seen, we still need to empower ecotourism and enhance sustainable tourism here in Peru. Thank you.
Let's take a look at another interview with a villager in Peru.
This is Ling from BBC in Cusco, Peru. We are here to find out how the tourism impacts the local villagers. So now, how is the economic benefit?
Tenemos varios ingresos económicos de los turistas, pero en los últimos años varios de ellos vienen buscando ecotours y esto realmente afecta a nuestra economía.
And how has the environment been affected by the tourists?
Cada año vienen miles de turistas y ellos botan la basura donde ellos les plazca, inclusive en áreas naturales protegidas.
How can we engage this problem?
Queremos enseñarles a los turistas acerca de nuestras antiguas tradiciones de respetar el ambiente. Hemos vivido con ellas por varias generaciones, así que sabemos todos los beneficios que la naturaleza nos puede ofrecer.
So, as we can see, there are a lot of opportunities to make a connection with nature, and that can be achieved through ecotourism. Thank you.
We have the solution for you. As we have seen, ecotour can be one of the solutions for a sustainable society. And we know that you already have a number of tours offering experience of nature and culture in Peru. But currently, it is just a nature culture tour and a little more work to make it as an eco-tour. Before getting into a proposal, let's see the definition of eco-tour. According to IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, eco-tour is defined as environmentally responsible travel and visitation to undisturbed natural areas that promotes nature conservation and gives opportunities of education as well. Here's an example of eco-tour in Hawaii. Since Hawaii has complex and fragile ecosystems that are easily affected by outside influences, it is important for visitors to respect nature and culture in local communities. For instance, Hawaii has the world's largest protected area, marine area, and tries to keep the natural environment.
Now let's see Peru's potential. One of Peru's touristic potential is its biodiversity. Peru has 25,000 species of flora in all its territory that are located in 158 natural protected areas, where many tourists can do sightseeing and enjoy their beauty. Additionally, it has more than 500 species of mammals, including alpaca, and more than 1,800 species of birds. This is important for tourists who enjoy bird watching activities in natural environments. Furthermore, Peru's richness also includes their people. Having more than 1,700 native communities distributed in the Andes and the Amazon explains the multi-plural diversity it has. Each community has its own dialect and its own traditions. However, there is one point in common, which is their respect for nature. In Peru, there is no doubt you will see different realities and enjoy their traditions and costumes.
Yes, we have seen the potential of Peru for the development of ecotourism. Then next, let's talk about what kind of contributions ecotourism can make to the sustainable development of Peru. Firstly, ecotourism can help raise people's awareness of environmental protection and achieve a pollution-free and sustainable use of the diverse resources of seas, rivers, forests, mountains, and desert in Peru. And besides, ecotourism can minimize the damages and pressure that traditional tourism has been bringing to the natural reserve and ecosystem, and thus restore biodiversity in Peru. Moreover, ecotourism can also provide the local people with the opportunities to interact with tourists and become known better in the world while maintaining their traditional lifestyle and local culture. Lastly, such eco-friendly tourism can also help create much more jobs for people in the local communities, increase their income sustainably, and thus promote the tourism industry and economic growth in Peru.
Now I'm going to talk about our proposals. We have two suggestions for you. The first is that let us help you. Firstly, you could work with us on ecotourism campaigns or conferences, and then get certifications to become a member so that you can gain a lot of resources from us to increase worldwide popularity. Besides, we can provide you with valuable guidance. For example, teaching you to design, construct, and operate low-impact facilities, improving your service quality to deliver memorable experience to visitors. The other suggestion is collaborating with local communities. You could educate local communities to make them understand the importance of interaction and equilibrium with nature, so that local people can make good use of natural and cultural heritages in proper ways. For instance, local people can promote workshops with natural ingredients to make souvenirs and sell them as an extra income. Besides, you could suggest visitors donating part of their income to preserve local environment and the traditional culture. For example, repairing ancient horses and preserving endangered plants and animals. Here we have a specific example for ecotour in Andes Mountains. Firstly, visitors can live an amazing experience hiking in the Inca Trail or riding an alpaca on the way to Machu Picchu. The second amazing activity is that visitors can dye their own clothes and create a unique style t-shirt with natural dye under the guidance of local people. When talking about local products, visitors could create their own souvenirs with natural alpaca's wool. They can also use sheep's wool to make a bag and a natural insect repellent. As you can see in the picture, the bag is made of recycled wool. Besides, tourists may want to get to know the Pachamama. Pachamama is a goddess revered by the indigenous people of the Andes. In Inca mythology, She is an Earth Mother type goddess. Tourists can get to know her better by taking part in workshops in their communities. People could stay in an eco-lobby with 100% renewable energy in the mountains. Eco-lobby is a place to stay made of wood covered by plants to regulate their inside temperature and equipped with solar panels that provide clean energy. It is fully equipped for the pleasure of the tourists. Furthermore, people could choose to make donations to the ecological preservation area like Manu National Park in mountains to help us preserve biodiversity. Overall, we want to present our own eco-friendly measures to explore the mountains.
Now I am going to talk about the business. I am sure that you have a good understanding of how it is good for the society and the tourists. I am now going to explain why EcoTour is good for your company. Firstly, it will bring you profit. According to the latest research done in 2021, the worldwide market size of the EcoTour is going to be almost double in next 6 years. And as you know, before COVID, there was a very clear trend in Peru of the rapid growing number of international and domestic tourism. Due to COVID, Peru's GDP has declined 11% in 2020. Also, we have lost our international visitors by 100% due to the lockdown. However, as you can see here, very luckily, the vaccination is going well in our country. And we expect the border to be open again for the international tourists by the end of this year. Understanding that we have some financial difficulties due to the damage by the COVID. So why don't we take the chance of utilizing what we already have, the beautiful nature and rich indigenous culture. An EcoTour is a new luxury for the people with some extra money. We are working together with this lady in the photo, Beyonce, for the promotion of the EcoTour. She represents the celebrity with high concern and contribution to the nature conservation. She and her family are one of the biggest fans of EcoTours. We can assure you that EcoTour can attract people who already have experienced normal tours and looking for new opportunities like Beyonce. And they are willing to spend money for those experiences. Finally, EcoTour can attract the investors. Many ESG rating companies, including among the most trusted like S&P and MSCI, predict that the nature conservation, especially the biodiversity, is the key for the ESG investment in 2021. Your contribution to preserve nature and threatened species will be a big plus to attract the investors who cares ESG. Now we are talking about the branding. As you can see in those advertisements and images, today sustainability is a new sophistication and it is a new norm to being cool. By providing EcoTours, remote tours can be branded as a cool, sophisticated company. By promoting EcoTour, you can bring variable good benefits also to the country and local community as we have experienced in many specific reasons. This is some of the example from the report from the World Bank. And as you can see, you will be contributing sustainable economic growth, social inclusiveness, employment and poverty reduction, cultural values, diversity and heritage, improving resource efficiency, environmental protection, and good for climate action. And you will also contribute to mutual understanding, peace, and security among your people and people from other side of the world. Thus, you will contribute to the country and also to the local. And you will gain the good respect from the both community. Finally, by implementing our proposal, you can contribute to the SDGs economically, socially, and environmentally. In particular, 1, no poverty, decent work and economic growth, sustainable cities and communities, and climate action like law order and life on land. So we really hope that you agree with our ideas that making your tours more sustainable and competitive in the market. We are looking forward to work with you closely and make the world better for you, tourists, and people in Peru. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you. And everything went smoothly in the end. You managed to get after this little hiccup at the beginning, I think it all hangs together really well. And thank you for sticking within the time. I believe this is the first time where we actually see the SDGs appear very clearly, very visibly in the presentation. So that's a very important point there. And there was lots of really good things going on in that presentation, and you were fairly ambitious in what you put together. I have to say I loved the interviews. I thought that was really fun. But maybe if we can go to Fumiko first for some feedback.
Thank you very much. This sort of presentation was really wonderful and sort of I think thinking of many dimensions of this sort of impact of the ecotourism, and also reminded me my work engaged in Australia was ecotourism, worked with the indigenous people. And that was my master's sort of time, so about 20 years ago. But I just thought that, yes, important thing of the ecotourism is, yeah, of course, those tourists visit the tourist destination and experience beautiful natures and very interesting kind of like a culture sort of experience. But also ecotourism is very important for those tourists to make them to think relevance of their experience to their own everyday life, like activities, like everyday life, sort of any activities, like because otherwise ecotourism impact ends on the destination, and they cannot take it back to their own own everyday life. So I think, yes, so the presentation is already very wonderful, but it's very nice if you can think a little bit more to make the ecotourism educational impact more sort of last longer than not just finishing off at the ecotourism destination. So that's only sort of comment that I can make. Thank you very much. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Luis, do you have some feedback?
Yes, muy bien. Yeah, thanks for your presentation. That's great. I thought it really worked well, and maybe something all teams should do is kind of to set the agenda properly at the beginning, which you kind of did, saying like, here we are this team and we are pitching to these people and this is what you are going to see. I think that's really important to set the agenda briefly, what people are going to hear from you, right? Because we don't want to be guessing what are these guys talking about. And it's like from the beginning, it's like, you are going to do this. And I think you guys did it, and that was really good. And I think everybody should do that. Then you had these testimonial videos, which I mean, it's like, it's you guys doing it, right? So it was kind of, I suppose that this is an idea to do it with real people eventually, right? Or so if that's the point, I think is really good idea. Again, to bring the voices of other stakeholders or people that are related to your issue. That's really good. Yeah, so I thought that was really good. I guess in a real situation, you would get a lot of tourists, right? Not just one Chinese tourist, because that's like, that's it, okay. Because this Chinese tourist said this, we're gonna do all this project, is not really like that, right? So you have to have like 10 people that represent different audiences, etc. in a real situation, but your idea is good, I think. No? The idea also, similarly with the community person, again, you just have one guy saying all these things. So again, I suppose you would have more people, and then it becomes like a good tool for you to bring in your pitch, right? Something though, I guess you have to be careful is that kind of the solution started coming from this community guy. So I thought that was kind of weird that you introduced your solution through what this guy said, because I think that solution should come from you, right? And introduced in a very strong, powerful way at some point. And it kind of came up from this guy. So it was a little bit confusing that at some point with that. Also, at some point you said, I'm gonna tell, I think it was Sun-san that said, I'm gonna tell you these 3 solutions. I think that's great too. Again, you have to give help people to follow your presentation, right? So these kind of devices are really good. Like, I'm gonna give you 3 solutions and this is number 1. And you did kind of like this. So I think that was great. That's really good. You always have to help the people to follow what you're saying, right? So you kind of did that, and that's great. And also in general, your presentation was really beautiful and really well designed, really consistent with beautiful images. And that just makes you look very professional, right? We don't really know what's behind you as a company or as a consultant or whatever, or any of you, right? All I can see is your presentation. So if I see a presentation that is very beautiful and well produced, I say, yeah, these guys seem professionals, right? I don't know, maybe you're just working in your bedroom, but you look very professional, right? So this is really important. Yep, so that's my comments.
Thank you, Luis. And Mitsuru?
Yes, yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. And I myself, from the background of environmental studies and the science-society relations, so the content was really interesting to me in many ways. But here, I'd like to focus more on the strategy you took in producing your talk. And if I understood you correctly, you were representing an NGO and were speaking to one of the biggest tourism companies. And what wasn't quite sure was if it was appropriate for you to assume that such company hadn't got the knowledge about ecotourism to the level you presented your facts. And if you are talking to, like, the food companies or car makers about, switching your business from, production to tourism or something, I think your talk was quite convincing. But I think if you are talking to the experts with a lot of profound knowledge and expertise and experience about tourism, probably the way you presented the facts could be a bit more thoughtful or thorough. I think that one comment. And the other was that the other of 2 of the points I want to make is that your talk was full of the positives, full of the positives about promoting the ecotourism, but didn't really talk about the difficulties. If ecotourism is such a great opportunity for business, why doesn't everyone do that? And probably that's something you need to refer to when promoting some ideas. These are the difficulties, but we know how to tackle these. That's the way to talk about those. But yeah, again, I really enjoyed that talk, so thank you.
Thank you so much, Mitsuru, for that. Okay, we are at the end of the first segment of this week. I'd just like to ask if someone from each one of the groups would like to just quickly say a little bit about what they feel in terms of the feedback, or how they reflect upon their presentation, how it went. So is there somebody from New Narratives who might want to say a few words before we wrap up? It'd be just nice to get your opinion. Anyone from the New Narratives team? No? Okay. How about somebody from Big Ideas? Would you like to?
May I?
Yeah, of course.
First of all, thank you so much for all the inputs that everyone has given to us. I think, yeah, I realize we still have a lot more to learn. Still, mada. But yeah, and I really so far enjoyed the other 2 presentations. So looking forward for the other 3. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I mean, we also appreciate the fact that we're doing all of this through the technology and in the middle of COVID, with lots of constraints about your ability to be able to spend time working together, talking together, and so on. So we also appreciate that there are lots of limitations that you're having to deal with as well, and that you've done a fantastic job under those circumstances. How about Simply Stories? Anyone like to give some response to our feedback?
If I may.
Yes.
So yes, it was very, very nice experience to be working with all the people from different backgrounds. But yeah, and also the difficulty was to work with one topic with people with different understanding on the issue, and especially like, for example, George was from Peru, so he has the basic understanding what the situation of Peru, but we don't. And also the other difficulty I felt was the like Mitsuru-san pointed out. So we are supposing that we are the NGO and talking to the Peruvian company, but we also have to make you understand what we are talking about. So that was the another difficulty. But overall, I think we had a good collaboration and we really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one of the points that has come out from the feedback is setting the context, and also how you connect as the narrative and your different roles. That's really, really important, so that as the audience, that we don't get confused. Jorge, you look like you want to say something.
Yes, I wanted to add. First of all, Mr. Luis, gracias, muchas gracias for your feedback. Thank you. So I wanted to point out, like, I was trying to hide my camera because I did the recording with this t-shirt too. So like maybe I can, like, it can get confusing. Well, we didn't have enough, like, how to say, actors to have more, like, I don't know, other Peruvian people or other Peruvian communities, but we try to improvise, like, with what we have. Also about the time limitations, it was quite hard. But yeah, thank you very much for all your comments, and I really enjoy it. I'm looking forward also to continue doing this kind of things, because yeah, I love them. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward also to hear the other teams' presentations. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much to the 3 teams that have presented so far, and the standard is very, very high, and we're looking forward to the second 3 presentations. But let's take a 15-minute break now.